So a little background on myself. My name is Tatyana, and I am from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I lived in Philadelphia for 9 years before moving to Brooklyn about a year and a half ago. I am mostly an oil painter, and I do work that is based on social and political ideas that are close to me. Um, oh, didn't mean to do that. I also began working in public a few years ago. I was a muralist while I was in Philly, and so I was doing a lot of large-scale mural projects that had me outside in the public. And while working on these projects, I started to think more about art in a public space compared to art that's inside. So most of the work that I do is just in my house. I do it, just kind of isolated from everyone else. So when I was working on this project, I began to I started to think about work in the public space and how people interact with that. It's more accessible. Everyone gets to see it. Everyone gets to be a part of it. It becomes a part of the environment. And so I wanted to do something about street harassment. I was thinking work in the public and work outside, how they kind of coincide with street harassment. When you're outside, you are open to the public. You receive all of these comments. I've been experiencing street harassment since I was a teenager back in Oklahoma. Since I was a kid, I was receiving street harassment, especially when I moved to Philadelphia. I moved from Oklahoma to this huge pedestrian city where everyone is outside, and it became a daily thing for me. So I have always been thinking about how can I incorporate that into my artwork? How can I do something about street harassment, which is something that I'm very passionate about, through my art? And that's when Stop Telling Women to Smile came about. It was about a year and a half ago, and I decided to do a wheat paste project. Wheat paste was something I never used before. It was an experiment for me, but I thought that it would be fun, and it would be the perfect medium for this project. So the first few posters are just me and my friends. Here we have Stephanie. Stephanie is from Philly, and I had already taken photos of Stephanie for a previous project. When I approached her, like, hey, I'm doing this new project, would you want to be a part of it? And she's like, yeah, of course. Street harassment was something that was very close to her as well, so she wanted to be a part of it. So what we did was, I did drawings from the photographs. I used her photograph, I used my own photograph, and I used captions that I felt close to. Stop telling women to smile. Women aren't seeking your validation. Things that I felt needed to be outside. For me, these were reactions to street harassment that I had received and that I wanted to put out there in the public. Eventually, I began to use people that I didn't know. So I would invite people in to be a part of this project. The process goes from the photograph to the drawing to the actual poster. So here we have Diana, who lives in Chicago. Diana saw the My Name Is Not Baby poster, and she felt close to that one, except she wanted to do something that was more specific to her and the words that she hears in her community. So instead of My Name Is Not Baby, she wanted to say My Name Is Not Mamacita, which is something that she hears all the time. Here we have Brandy, who lives in Boston, and she wanted to say, do not touch my hair. So I've been traveling with the project, and in Chicago, in Boston, in Baltimore, I've interviewed women, and I've gone through the whole process of creating these works in the actual city with these women. For me, I felt it was important to create work that reflects their experiences and put it up in their communities as well. So because this project started in Brooklyn, it was also important for me to go to other places and reflect those experiences. What happens in Brooklyn may not happen everywhere else, or someone may not feel very close to that, depending on where they live. It's also important for me to show different identities when it comes to this project. I started this project with myself and my friends. These are women of color who live in all-Black neighborhoods and who experience harassment mostly from Black men. I thought it was important to showcase that. So when the project started, it started with mostly Black women. That was important for me because I knew who was going to be seeing this work specifically, and I needed it to be close to them. I needed them to identify with it. As it's grown, I've expanded that. I'm trying to talk to all types of different women and hear their different reflections on what they go through and they experience. So sexuality, gender presentation, all of these things are important to include in this project. As it has expanded, I've been fortunate to meet all types of women who want to be a part of it, who want to share their stories with me. And this is Dean, who lives in Atlanta. Dean specifically wanted to talk about how, as a masculine presenting woman, the type of harassment she receives is very specific to that. So men a lot of times tell her, you know, I'm more of a man of you, more of a man than you are. I can show you how to be a real man. I can do all of these things to you. Very specific to the way that she presents herself. And this was something that I felt was very important to include in the project. So as I'm meeting different women, people have asked me, how do you decide who to include? I try to include these different perceptions and different ideas and experiences that aren't there yet. Things that I think need to be said that I haven't said yet. I felt that this was something that was very important, so I wanted to include hers in the project. So since I've been traveling with the project, I've had a lot of people reach out to me from different cities all over the world, asking me how they can be involved and how we can bring the project there. I am still working on that and still figuring out a very concrete structure and organization in order to spread this message everywhere that it can be. For International Anti-Street Harassment Week, I held a week pasting night. So I released PDFs of some of the pieces for people to paste up wherever they were, wherever they live. Here we have a few photos from that night, from people in different cities. This is in Austin. There were cities, I want to say about 20 different cities where I actually got photos back from people who had done the week pasting. Some of them translated them into their local languages. And it was a good step for me to see just how well this work translates into other cities across the world. It makes me want to really expand the project to have people included. So a few reactions. A lot of times people give me very positive feedback. I get emails and messages from women all of the time, from all over the world, telling me how much they appreciate the work and how much they relate to it. But not all of those reactions are good. A lot of them are negative. And a lot of them sometimes happen actually on the artwork. So we see here someone went in and they wrote on top of this. They wrote liar, slut, whore. I know with street art, it is open to the elements, which means people, the weather, everything. So it will be defaced, it will be torn down. That's just part of the nature of the work. But what bothers me the most about this is that it's very gendered. And it shows that you can be violated and have violence against women and aggression against women, even in an artwork form. You can't even be outdoors as a piece of art without having someone come in and dominate you in a very aggressive way. This is another example of someone writing on the artwork. If it was a little closer, you could see he wrote, a very detailed list of his responses to the project. But things like this just kind of keep me motivated. When people tell me, I love this, I appreciate this, that motivates me to keep going. But also when people say, this is stupid, you don't know what you're doing, this is dumb, street harassment doesn't really exist, you're just exaggerating. All of that also motivates me to continue doing this project. So I am very appreciative of all the support and all of the negative comments as well. So right now I am working on the project still in Brooklyn. I will be traveling more with it. And like I said, also figuring out a way to take this internationally. So thank you very much.